And when I got to Spelman, I mean, everything else just started happening for the good. My older cousins, girl cousins that I grew up with, like sisters because I'm an only girl, they both went to Fisk. As far as I was concerned, it was between Fisk and Spelman. I wanted to follow my cousins. My grandmother completed normal school. In the beginning with an HBCU, that was sort of like the equivalent of somewhere between completing high school and maybe another year of college. And while she was at Mars College, several of her teachers were Spelman women. My mother went to Mars College. Most of her teachers were women who were graduates of Spelman College, so they were very much impressed with Spelman women. When my mother went to the university, to Atlanta University, well, that was right in the midst and in the middle of Spelman, Morehouse, Morris Brown, the ITC Center. So several of the instructors that she had during the summer, of course, were Spelman women. They were Morehouse graduates, et cetera, et cetera. So when the time came selecting Spelman as my college of choice, it wasn't necessarily my choice. I did not reject it, and I went. Spelman enhanced most of the values that I had already been taught. Some of those were community service was one, but definitely excellence in reference to your education pursuit, high achievement in education, and valuing education first, because like my grandmother was always say, once you're educated and you have it in your brain, they can't take it from you, no matter what. They made sure that we were well-rounded through church and other kinds of activities that were taking place in our communities. Taking those kinds of experiences with me to Spelman, and then when you get there, you are meeting other young women who've had some of those same kinds of experiences, and from different socioeconomic backgrounds, but because of the way that I was raised, they were all like just sisters, and that was what one of the foundations and the value and what you were taught at Spelman. It was centered around sisterhood, because when I was there were not sororities on campus. We were told that we were all sisters. Spelman is where I met my husband, believe it or not. Let me tell you that story. During that period of time, you had Spelman, you had Morehouse, you had Morris Brown, you had Clark AU. Okay, and during freshman week, you went to the different schools for different kinds of events, sort of like meet and greet kinds of things. So we had the parking lot dance at Spelman. So then we had the students from the other campuses to come over. That's when he came to meet Barbara, and Barbara introduced me to him. This is the first week, and believe it or not, we dated for 4 years. We are coming up to 58 years of marriage. Spelman is responsible for me having a family.
If you had to explain the culture of an HBCU to someone who hasn't attended one, how would you describe that?
It really is a family, and the support and the encouragement that you get from the professors. Not only the professors, staff members, custodial staff, persons who work in the dining hall, your faculty, the administrator, everybody cared, and they care to the extent that they give you that feeling of self-confidence, and letting you know too that whatever you would put your mind to doing and whatever kind of dreams that you have, that you put the work in and you establish relationships with others. Ask for help when you need it, and the help is given. But it's that kind of atmosphere of encouragement and just persons knowing you. My instructors could call me by name. I worked at Savannah State, which is an HBCU, for over 30 years. You're just treated as if you're a person, and somebody would mentor you to the point where you could feel like they're like another, could be like another mom or dad to you, just looking out for you.
I know you said you haven't missed a reunion since. Have you felt that that has continued throughout all times that you've visited back again?
I think so. Just the value of the sisterhood, because even when you are traveling, throughout the country, and you find that someone is a Spelmanite, and you may not have known them, they're young, they're older, or whatever, but it's just that sisterhood, and then, wow, it's a wow moment, and it's a wonderful feeling to be in that person's presence, and then you start sharing, based on your own experiences, and then you find out there's some that are, so similar, regardless of what generation you were there, and it's just a good feeling. Okay, you still bring some of that with you. It's like that self-confidence that you have, that you just feel that you can walk into anyone's room and be comfortable there, no matter the size of the room. And when you had opportunity to speak, that you could speak, whether your voice was heard or not. You had the confidence to speak. Coming here, a young couple, our son was not quite a year old. We were both young. We were in our 20s. But I knew, and I always had been exposed to being a career woman, but a working mother. Careers and still raising children. So we kind of moved here without any blood relatives. When I moved here in 1971, it's ironic that I experienced it in Boston, the desegregation of the schools and busing in Boston when I was in graduate school. Then when we came here in 71, that was the very first thing almost that I confronted, because in order to get to Savannah State, I used to take the route out Durin, which was past Jenkins High School, and they kind of just started, the busing, looking at, desegregating the schools in Savannah. We were able, through church and through Savannah State, to establish what we call found family, and where we got a lot of support from, and got involved in the community, and within 2 years, and there were some women in this community who kind of opened the door for me to get into community work, to do that. But when you're the new kid on the block, what I find out is that they'll ask you to do things, okay? And growing up the way that I did, and depending on what it was that I was asked to do, I did not say no. So I did get involved, and I think one of the first organizations that I got involved with, or the first movements, let's call it, was transitioning the YWCO in Savannah to the national YWCA. YWCO was segregated, transitioning it over to the national YWCA. Okay. So that's where I met Zelda Tenenbaum, because she was on that task force. I was appointed or suggested that I would be on that task force as well. And so that was kind of the first introduction I had to being into community service in Savannah. But it was very interesting. It was very interesting. Dr. Abigail Jordan was the one who kind of really just kind of pushed and supported, and Moselle Clemens, and I think of some names, Wilhelmina Dean, that they pushed. And then on the other hand, you had Zelda there, who was kind of welcoming, and we really established a wonderful relationship from that period of time on, and have done some things together.